Good morning, everyone. Today's our day 10 with React.js. We are learning about passing props to components, conditional rendering in React. Okay, let's start with passing props with passing props to a component. In last day, we did on command with writing markup with JSX and JavaScript in JSX with curly braces. In today's lecture, we are going to learning on this topic. So, hope you will ready for this day. So, let me do one small setting so that I can start with smoothly. That's it. So, React components use props to communicate with each other. Yes, as we have been worked with multiple project last week, that's giving an idea like how we are creating multiple components and how we are creating multiple components and making things effective like this in app.jsx. I have a one main component of app, then profile, icons, and sidebar. And sidebars is communicating from other file. Okay, so communication between these components like this and this, from this and this, from this to this, or from this to child to parent, parent to child, or child to deep parent. Like if I hope, what if I don't want to uh, what if I don't want to make a connection between uh, like if I have a props where I require to sending from the child component to the second last parent component. So what we can do in that case? Okay, if I want to send the props to a child component to the parent component, how that will be work for us. And if I want to send the props to main component to a topmost child component, how we are going to working with this. And one more, and what if I want to send the props from outer component which is not inside the uh, component in the app.jsx file, which are not inside the app.jsx file, which is coming from outside external gsx file. In that case, how we are going to sending and communicating with each other with props. Okay, we are learning this. Our today's motto will be learn this thing and how we are going to communicating with each component easily. All right, so let's start with this. So every parent component can pass some information to child component by giving them props. Okay, in this case in this case in this case this is my parent component, and like this p. or parent, and this is my child component. Okay, now this become my parent component, and this become my child component. Okay, every topmost component is my parent and child. Okay, as we know, as we have already been worked with, like which approach we are using, top to bottom or bottom to up, like top to bottom or bottom to up, that decides your hierarchy of your child and parent components. Here I am using bottom to top. Here I am using bottom to top. Means the smallest component inside the bigger one, inside the UI, which that will be my. Let me show you from here. Like this was my previous example of creating a search filtering data project. In this project, what we have did, like we required to creating this component and subcomponents and rendering data from JSON file. In that case, what we have did, in that case, we have worked with the using the hierarchy, like here this search bar and this product ID. We have first of all created all the components, like filterable table, this big one, and searching bar. There is a first component of search bar, this thing, and second is a product table, like this thing. We have two major components, and every component having sub components. Inside the product table, I have one of the component is product category row, this one, and product category product category row and product rows, product category row and product rows. All right, product category row and product row. How you understand which is a product category? Like this one is my product category row, this is my one of the product category row, and this is my product row, this is my product row. Okay, so this is what we have already been worked with, but in today's lecture we are going to learning this in more detail. So here we have working with did all the functionality from bottom to top approach, from bottom to top approach. Okay, first we created product row, then we created category row, then we created product table, then we created search bar, then we created this. So in this top to bottom hierarchy, the first is my become my parent component, and this will become my child components. And okay, search bar and product table is my child component of filterable product table, like this one, this, and this become my this one, and this one become my what, child component of filterable table, of filterable table. Okay, this become my child component of my filterable table. Hope you understand what I trying to say. So props might remind you of HTML attributes, but you can pass an JavaScript value through them, including objects, arrays, and functions. Okay, it's just like a curly braces that's we have yesterday discussed about the open window in JavaScript that can be sent as a props like any variable, any value, any object, or any functions. All right. So what we are going to learn today: how to pass props to a component, how to read props from a component, how to specify default value for props, how to pass some JSX to a component, how props change over time. So this will be our lecture goals. Familiar props. So let's familiar with props. What is this? And let's see. Props are the information that you pass to a JSX tag. For example, class name, source, alter, width, height, and some of the props you can pass images. Okay. In the image tag, I have sending the props as a height, width, alter, and source and class name. This all my props. Okay, this is how props is looked like. The props you can pass to an image tag are predefined. React DOM conform the HTML standards, but you can pass any props you own components such as avatar to customize them. How's how's how? Here's how. Like these props are already predefined, like class name for styling, source for the source of the image, alternate for alternative name of image, width of the image, and the height of the image. This all props are predefined. We are not defining this. But what if there is props you can create on yourself? That's matter. Passing props to a component. In this code, the profile component isn't passing any prop to its child component avatar. Okay, like profile component is returning what avatar, and I want to send some props with this. For now, here is not no one is nothing to send as a props for now. Okay, you can give avatar some props in two steps. Okay, to adding any props, you are required to doing two steps. First, pass props to the child component. First, pass some props to avatar. For example, let's pass props like person, then size. Okay, like this. There is a props of person. Okay, and there is a props of size. Okay, and we are going to creating the image location using the person props with the name with image id. Okay, and the size from the size. All right, these are props for avatar. Note, if double curly braces after person confuse you, recall the object in JSON curly. Yeah, that's similar to what we have yesterday discussed about the curly braces. It's a just open window of object. Okay. Now you can read these props inside the avatar. Now read the props. First step, how we are going to pass the props, or we can send the props, and how we are going to read the props inside the child component. Okay. How we are going to read? You can read these props by listing their names like person, size, separated by comma inside the curly braces directly after function avatar. This lets you use them inside the avatar code you would with a variable like a person and the size. Like I'm going to creating a avatar of three images, avatar of three having the size of 100, 80 or 50 and having a different person with a different image id with their different name, okay, and sending this all the props to my avatar. Now how it will be work, let me copy this first. This utilities js files, what going to do, it's creating a image location url and sending to as a export. And we have already discussed what is export, import, and what export default. At the time of importing, they import the get url from the utils.js. All right. So how this props is going to work here? As we have the name as person and the size, and we are going to getting this by the image. Inside this image, a class name will be my avatar. Okay, that's predefined for all. And source will get from the get image URL from here. Okay, and we are sending the props. We are sending the props person to this. Like it's taking a person and the size for s as a by default. Okay, what would be the person name that's going to be changed here like person dot image id and the size and the jpg. An alternative name is will be person dot name and width will be the size that's come from here. The height will be the size. Okay. On the basis of size, it's deciding the size of the image and then changing the path of all the images. So that's quite easier. How it's going to do? Props let you think about parent and child component independently. For example, you can change the person or the size props inside profile without having to think about how avatar use them. Similarly, you can change how the avatar use the props without looking at the profile. You can think of the props like cons that you can adjust. They serve the same role as argument serve for function. In fact, props are the only argument of your component. React components functions accept a single argument props object. Okay? React component, React function. Yeah, so yeah, what is this? React component function accept a single argument props object. Okay? What will be the props object? That will be my props. Let props person props let size equal to props dot size. Usually you don't need the whole props object itself, so you can destructure it into the individual props. Okay, if you know the name of the inside the props, you can directly use it as a name of single props and destructure your props inside the function in the component inside the component. Usually you don't need to need the whole props object itself, so you destructure it into individual props. Okay, don't miss the pair opening and closing curly braces inside the parentheses when declaring a props. Okay, inside the props, you are required to declare it inside the curly braces. Syntax is destructuring and equivalent to reading props from the function parameters. Okay, that's similar. It's an example for destructuring the props. We're not sending the whole props inside the avatar, we're just sending the object. Specifying a default value for props. Specifying the default value for props. If you want to give a props a default value for fallback, okay, for fallback. What is callback and the fallback? Callback is like calling to another function and whatever the result that's passing from that function, that will be my callback. Okay, but in the fallback it's like predefined value fallback, and when no value is specified you can do it with the destructure by putting equals to, okay, and default value right after the parameter. Now if avatar person is rendering with no size props, the size will be set 100. Okay, like if there is a no props available inside the equals to, at that time the props will be the 100. By default it sends 100. Alright, the default value is only used if size of props is missing, or if you pass size undefined. But if you pass size null or 0, the default value it not be used. Okay, when the size is not been sent and you have not destructured it by yourself, that will be become your undefined. If you have worked with like if you use like a null or 0, that not be your size, but actually you are required to use your props in this way, like size equals to 100. So if you missed out to sending passing your props of size, by default that's taking the value as 100. All right, so forwarding props with JSX spread syntax. Okay, it's a three dot type, like how it's going on. JSX spread, forwarding props with JSX spread syntax. Sometimes passing props get very repetitive, like we are required to write this thing multiple times for multiple cases of component. At that time what we are going to do, like first of all let's understand this code. This is my profile with the name of person size age sphere or thick border. Okay, and the avatar, there is a avatar component, and that's takes props like a person with a person props, the size with the size, and is sphere, thicker block. Okay, sabash. There is nothing wrong with the repetitive code. It can be more legible, but this at at times you may value consequences, like some components forward all the props to their children, like the profile does the avatar. Okay, at the time, like if we are not using this kind of things at the time, what will happen? Like all the props will be sending to this avatar. Okay, to controlling the limits, we can use this kind of hard coded. But what if you are required to send all the props at a single time to the avatar component? At the time, what we are going to do, because they don't use any props directly, it can be sensed like more concise, like spread syntax. What is the spread syntax to sending your props to another component by just using the props as an object? Okay, like here profile is getting all the props from their parent. Okay, here what happened, profile is getting these props from where? From their parent. Okay, we are getting all these props inside the variable props, like this props hold the type of the props will be what that will be become my object. Like actually this is an object that is just written hard coded or destructured, but in a structured format we are going to send all these props inside here and taking the props as an what, as an object, and use the spread operator, spread syntax here, three dots with props name. That sending, what happened here? It's just working like a for each loop, but it's just taking the copy of your all the props and sending one by one with the same name. Like it's similar to like this. It's similar to like this. Okay. Yes. This forward all the profile props to the avatar without listing each of their names. Use spread syntax with resident. If you are using in every other component, sometimes it's wrong. Like it's not a convenient way to sending your props. Like it's become like what we are going to send. But it's point clear, but it's not a convenient way. Often it indicates that you should split your components and pass children with as JSX more more on the next. Okay. So let's see what are the more convenient way to sending the props here. So passing JSX to a children, like we are what we are going to sending. Now going to send the JSX to my children, like what? Like this product table, send the props to their product row and product category. Let me remove this first. Product row and product category, and the search bar will getting the props from their what? This props, the search bar getting the props from filterable product table, and filterable and product table also getting the props from where? Filterable product table. In this example, I have been worked earlier. Okay, so how we are going to send pass the JSX to the child? It matters a lot. It's not like we are sending the props to the one level. We can also send the props to the deeper by drilling method. We explore all the things. Like it is common to nest build in browser tag. That's similar. But we are going. Sometimes you will want to nest your own component with the same way. Like I'm nesting the div with the images. I'm nesting the component card with the avatar card component. Okay, that's similar what we really do. When you nest content inside the JSX tag, the parent component will receive that content in a props called children. For example, the card component below will receive children props, set the avatar, and render it in a wrapper div. Like here, I have import the avatar.js. What's avatar.js? It's return the image with some props and utilities.js. This is a function card with the name of children and what it's going to return. Return the div with the name children, and this name is coming from here. Like export default function with the profile and returning the card with avatar, and that's it. Try replacing avatar inside the card with the sum of the text and how it's going on. Actually, I want to take a break for now. So hope you know how the props is going to work. Like passing props to a component, it's working. Working of this passing props to a component. In today, I will came live again in morning. At the time, I'm going to teach you how you are going to working with this in real time. And at the time, I'm also going to working with the condition rendering. Okay. For now, I'm signing out from you all.